Hello everyone, 12 Bravo here. Just wanted to make a video of the 20 things that I hate about my Polestar 2. Now, hate is a very strong word, and some of these things it does kind of irk me a lot. Other ones are really just me nitpicking, things about the car that I don't like. So, without further ado, let's get into this list. Stay tuned though, I will update this video with videos of each of these things that I hate. I'll make a more seamless video showing the actual things that I hate in video once I figure out how to use my GoPro and editing software better. So stay tuned. I will update this video to make it a little bit more professional, but for right now, I'm just going to read down the list and explain every item. So strap your seatbelts on. All right. The 20 things I hate about the Polestar 2, and yes, I need my reading glasses because I'm old. Look at that. That down like that. Yeah. All right, cool. So number one is the rear auto brake. So the rear auto brake, about to hear noise. Oh, TV didn't make it this time. Usually it makes a noise when it turns off. The rear auto brake. So the rear auto brake is number one. Is way too sensitive. If I start hearing it beeping, I just stop immediately because it's going to stop a second later if I don't stop. And it's going to stop hard. Like it slams those brakes. And even if you're only going like 1 mile, 2 miles an hour backing up, it slams on those brakes. It throws you in the seat. It scares the crap. The first time it happened to me, I was backing into my garage and there's like a little rainwater drain in front of my garage. So when I'm backing up, I kind of dip down a little bit like that and then get into my garage. Well, the car sees that as me backing into a pole or something, and so it will brake. So every time I back into my garage, I have to turn that off. It's kind of a pain, but I have to. When you go into reverse, you see it'll have a rear auto brake button. You push that button and it says turn off. I turn that off and I turn my parking sensors off just to make double sure. So it's easy because they're right next to each other. But the first time I backed in my garage and it did it, I thought I hit something in my garage. I was like so scared. I actually got out of my car and checked. But no, that's just how vicious the rear auto brake is on that car. Number two, interior space. Interior space is just sucks in the front, to be honest. It really does. It's the interior space is just they have this big, you know, tunnel that some people like it because like it does lock you in like a cockpit. And when I'm driving by myself, I do enjoy it. But when I have a passenger, we're kind of fighting over the arm space, the thing, and there's just not much room to spread out. Like you don't feel like you're in a roomy car. You feel like you're more in a cockpit of a jet or something like that. So some people may love that. Some people may hate it. And that leads right into the cup holder situation. The cup holder situation is a farce. It's just, even with one cup, you have to kind of tilt your arm back and go like this down to rest your arm, even if you just have one cup in the cup holder, because they're like in front and behind each other and they're right where you would rest your arm. So that's kind of a pain. Um, the infotainment system is a little slow sometimes, like especially when you first get in the car. Sometimes it takes a second to boot up and you'll like touch Google Maps if you're trying to navigate somewhere, and that might take 10 seconds for it to fully load so that you can start typing into it. It's kind of slow. The infotainment system's kind of slow when you first start up. Now, like after you've been driving around and you get back in the car and stuff, it's ready to go. But like for the first startup of the day, it can take a few seconds for it to really fully like get up to speed. Um, Also, the infotainment on the same line is glitchy. I have to reset it like 2 times a month, so which is easy to do. You just hold down the home button for about 20 seconds and then it'll reset. But it's still a pain sometimes when you get in your car. I'll get in there maybe 2 to 3 times a month and the screen just won't come on. And I mean, you do everything on the screen, so it's like you can't you know, you can still drive the car without the screen, but you can't see anything. Your odometer works and everything. The instrument cluster works, but sometimes the main screen doesn't work. Um, we're on number 5 now. Tires don't last on the performance package. And the reason why they don't last is because on the performance package, you can't rotate your tires because the rims in the front are different size than the rims in the back. So you can't rotate your tires front to back. You can only rotate them side to side. My first tires only lasted um, 20,000 miles. And so, but those were like max performance, super sticky summer tires. So I put on a pair of all seasons this time around, and I've noticed that the ride's a lot better, quieter, and also I'm hoping that the tires last longer. And I will rotate them side to side, but that's about all I can do. Number 6 is the painted calipers on the Performance Edition. They're painted gold, and the issue is with painted calipers is that they chip, and then sometimes that chip can turn into different colors and stuff. So, like I got a chip in my caliper, and now my like this big of an area on my caliper is a different color because it's gotten wet and stuff like that. And so, I'm hoping it doesn't rust through because I don't want to replace the calipers, but that goes into my bonus hate. So we'll talk about that later. Number 7, soft paint. Um, the car has very soft paint. You take it through the car. I've taken it through the car wash. Let's see. I was hand washing it for a while, and then recently, probably within the past, I've owned the car since March, December now. Probably within the past 3, 4 months, maybe. So about half the time that I've owned it, I've been taking it to the car wash, and there's tons of micro scratches all over the paint. It just You can see it. I mean, yeah, the car looks good like from a standing distance, but like when you get up to it, like if you're like trying to clean stuff off of it or whatever, you can see like especially in the sun, like all these micro scratches all over it from the brushes in the car wash. Um, Number 8, there's no wireless Apple CarPlay. I mean, come on, what's the deal here? This is a car that was made in 21, and my wife's car, who has a 22 Tucson, a Hyundai Tucson, um, it has wireless Apple CarPlay. So it's like, come on, this is a premium, luxury car. It's 21. It should have wireless Apple CarPlay. I got to plug it in, and then going on back to interior space, I got to plug it in, and I don't have much space to like do cable management. So I just kind of like crumple up the cable and toss it under my phone and lay my phone on top of the cable. So, yeah, you had that going on. Um, Number 9. So the car basically turns off when your butt leaves the chair. Okay. And there's been times where I was listening to music, jamming out, and I'll be like cleaning the window. My butt comes halfway off the chair, music stops. So your butt is the power button in this car. I don't like that because you can't get out of the car and keep your music playing. You have to kind of reach back in there and press the play button, to let it keep playing music. Same thing goes for the air conditioning. You have to kind of reach back in without sitting down and push the AC back on. It's just a hassle. The car should just turn off and turn on when you open the door. I mean, it would solve that problem right there. Um, let's see here. Number 10 is it shows your energy consumption. It shows kilowatt hours over 100 miles instead of miles per kilowatt hour. So I recently test drove a Mustang Mach-E, and it showed miles per kilowatt hour, which makes a lot more sense. It's a lot easier to calculate, like, hey, am I doing 3 or 4 miles per kilowatt hour? Tesla's average about 4 miles per kilowatt hour, and I'm averaging about 3 miles per kilowatt hour. So it'd be a lot better to see it in that format than per 100 miles. I mean, that's definitely a European thing right there. Number 11, the parking camera doesn't show the 360 view along with the rear view camera. So again, going back to the Mach-E, when I put it in reverse, it shows the 360 on top and it shows your rear camera for backing up on the bottom. I mean, so simple. In the Polestar, it shows an image of the car on top for your parking sensors, and it shows the rear view camera on the bottom. Now, you can switch it to 360 view, but then you lose the rear camera. So you can't really back up all that well with the 360 camera only. So that's just something that hopefully they could change in a software update. The sunroof, it isn't tinted dark enough. Now it's fine most of the time, but I live in Florida and August, September, when that sun's really baking down, that car gets ridiculously hot. And I don't know about ridiculous, that might be going too far, but like I can definitely feel the heat on the top of my head when I'm driving that car when that sun is just really strong. Um, so most of the time it's okay, but a couple months out of the year I'm kind of hot, and when you get back in the car, it's hot. You can precondition the car with an app on your phone to turn the AC on and everything else. So there is that, but it's still just hot. And leading into being hot, the seats are hot. I don't know what material the seats are, but obviously it was built for Sweden because those seats are hot, and I'm guessing the Swedish winters, they wanted seats that retain heat, and that goes into I've actually, one time when my wife got in the car, she was wearing shorts, and she could barely sit down in the seat because it was so hot, along with the sunroof letting so much sun in and those seats getting so hot, like her legs touched the seats, and she like, I mean, it didn't leave a burn mark or anything, but she felt like she was getting burned. Um, so that's something there. And that leads into 14, no ventilated seats. Now, the only way you can get ventilated seats in this car is if you upgrade to the Napa leather, which is a whopping $4,000 just to get Napa leather seats. That is ridiculous. Um, so that was 14. We're on to 15. No dash cam availability. Now, the sensors, just like in Volvos, for like the pre-collision braking and everything else, are up beneath the rear view mirror. And so there's all these electronics that are in there, and it specifically states in the manual, don't put anything electronic near this mirror. So if I wanted to get a dash cam, I'd have to put it like all the way on the top right corner of the windshield. And most of them just face forward. There's no way to angle them, you know? So I do have a Garmin like mini dash cam that's like this big. But guess what? Here's another bonus hate. The Polestar 2 does not have a cigarette lighter adapter in the car anywhere in the front. It's in the trunk. They have a I think they call them 12-volt plugs or whatever, the circle ones. There's none in the cabin at all. You cannot. So like my Garmin that I had for my Volvo, I had it in the top right of the windshield, and that one I could angle. But this one, there's no way to plug it in. So that's kind of out on that camera. There is a camera, aftermarket camera made by FitCam, and it's called the FitCam 4K, and it's $169, but it only has 4 stars. People have been complaining about it not working, and it involves you taking apart your rear view mirror assembly and installing it there in its place, and it's something that you're either going to have to pay someone to do and hope that they know what they're doing so they don't cut any of your safety wires or anything. But yeah, no, I'm not doing that. Going into 16 and talking about cameras, there's no Sentry mode. Now the car has a 360-degree cameras. It's got cameras on it. Why is there no Sentry mode? They're just not there. There's also no dog mode. That's number 17. The only way to keep the AC on and the car locked is to lock the car first and then go into your app and then turn the AC on. So, and then, people might not know that, your dog's okay in there. I mean, I'm sure they can hear the fan blowing from the AC, but They might not know that the dog's okay and might, there's nothing on the screen that says, "Hey, my dog's fine," like Tesla does. Number 18, the side mirrors don't fold in enough. They when they fold, so they'll be out like this, and when they fold like that, that much, just like a quarter in. And they don't fold all the way flat to the car like a BMW does or anything like that. They just fold in a little bit. And I'm like, what's the point of that? Like someone can still bump into that and tear it right off. So that's kind of stupid. And those mirrors are probably not cheap. The frunk, number 19, the frunk is way too small. It's practically unusable. The only thing I have in there is the backup cable for charging 110, and also have the adapter for the 220 as well. That's in there. So the cable has like um, a replaceable or a you can replace the end of the cable with either 110 or 220. So like they pull off and then you can put the other one on if you depending on what plug you need. So um, and number 20, charging is not 800-volt architecture. It takes 30 minutes to go from 10 to 80%. In a Tesla, it takes like 15 or something like that. So yeah, half the time. And that is just disappointing for a car that, was the first car to be Google software based. And they could have, like been like the EV6 or something and had that 800-volt architecture so that you could take advantage of the 350 kilowatt hour charging speeds and all this stuff like that. So the car is it's a slow charger, not as slow as a Mach-E. The Mach-E is one of the slowest charging cars, but it's pretty slow. So 30 minutes isn't that big of a deal, on the stop. You go use the restroom, look around, you may grab a little bite or something. It's not the biggest deal, but it adds up when you're going on a long road trip. Definitely, I'd rather stay there for 15 minutes instead of 30. Now, my bonus hate is probably the biggest thing I hate about the car, the biggest by far. The parts are ridiculously expensive. Do not break anything on your Polestar 2 because you will pay out the nose for it. You thought Volvo was expensive parts? No, Polestar is super expensive. So the headlight, I have a small crack in my headlight. And if that headlight fails, I'll have to claim it on my insurance because the headlight itself is $3,200 to replace. Yeah, you heard that right. It's either 32 or 34. I can't remember. It's I think the dealer cost is like 2,800 or something like that. But it is just ridiculously priced, and that's what I was saying earlier about the mirrors. If someone was to rip one of those mirrors off, I don't even want to know how much that would cost because they're frameless mirrors, and when you move it and adjust the mirror, the whole frame moves. Like the glass inside doesn't move. They decided to make the whole frame the mirror, so like the whole frame moves. It's pretty cool looking, but other than that, functionally it doesn't add anything, and it only adds costs to the car. So um, that is yeah, that headlight thing just really, whew, man. Because I don't like it, bothers me because I know it's there and it's really small and it's not even noticeable. If someone's even looking at the front of the car, checking it out, they're not going to notice that little crack, but you have to get up on it to see it. But I'm just afraid that water is going to get in there and kill that headlight somehow. But yeah, and you can't just replace the plastic piece that covers the headlight assembly. Oh, no, 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 no. Why would they make it like that? You have to replace the entire headlight assembly. That entire long thing that goes in there, you have to replace that entire thing just because the plastic's cracked on the outside. That's ridiculous. And that makes me wonder what else on the car is ridiculous like that, as far as like something else breaks, out of warranty, God forbid something breaks, like one of my shocks, like the only shocks, those things are expensive because it comes with only shocks on the Performance Edition, or anything on the car really breaking is going to be super expensive. I know that, and so that would be my biggest hesitation in recommending the car is just how expensive the parts are for it. Now, something like I would imagine something like a Ford Mach-E, something more mass produced because this is a pretty low production car, but something more mass produced like a Tesla or a Ford Mach-E or something like that, their parts are probably a lot cheaper because they have more of them, right? Just makes sense. Whereas the Polestar, I think their first year they only sold 30,000 of them. So it's a lot rarer car in the US anyway, and the parts are ridiculous. So that is my rant on the 21 things I hate about my car. But I will leave you with this. It is still my favorite car I've ever owned. I am so thrilled with it. And I think the only other car that I would want right now would be a Mach-E. I actually test drove one and was thinking about buying it to replace my Polestar, but then, what really held me back was the charging speed of the Mach-E. So I like that it was bigger. I like that it, had more space on the inside. I like that the cup holders weren't ridiculous, and just the interior was nicer in my opinion. The interior space, that is, not necessarily the materials. They were on par with what Polestar has. But yeah, it's still my favorite car. I would still recommend it, but I wouldn't recommend it to anyone that's like stretching to buy this car, right? If you're stretching to buy any car, you shouldn't be buying it. But especially those that are like, oh, I'm barely being able to afford the car payment on this thing, then yeah, I would skip because if something breaks out of warranty, do yourself a favor and lease it first and see if you like it. It would be my advice. Would be lease the Polestar, see if you like it, and if you can afford to always lease. Like if I could afford to like lease forever, that's what I would do. Like, why pay a car off and then it's obsolete? Especially in the EV world, the EVs, they get obsolete. Um, Not obsolete, but they make better ones. They make changes every year, and they just get more range, better technology. Even in the Mach E, like the new Mach E's, the screens, the computer or whatever they did to the screens is a lot faster now than say the 20 Mach E, the one that came out in 2020. The screens now on the 24s are they're faster, and everything else. And they got the new Blue Cruise, which will eventually trickle down to that one. But um, yeah, if you can afford to lease, especially on electric cars, and just continually do that, I know, there's a lot of people out there that say that's just throwing your money away. But if you can afford it, that's what I would do. I mean, if I was rich, I would just lease cars all the time. But I'm not, and so I have to watch what I buy and keep it for a while. And yeah, that's something that I personally wasted. Not to go on a totally long rant, but I wasted a lot of money buying cars over the years, and I have recently made a financial overhaul of my life and decided that, hey, this car, um, after going through everything that I went through, just making this car my car for a long time. I want to make it to 100,000 miles in this car. And I almost did not follow through on that. I almost bought a Mach-E, and I'm glad it didn't work out because now I can stick to my plan of no buy till July. So I am actually doing a no buy of anything um, discretionary. Now I can still eat out. Um, obviously the wife can buy whatever, she needs, but I am not gonna even buy a t-shirt for myself or a book or anything like that, because I just need to curb my spending, you know? I really need to curb my spending. I think in this world, we just, especially in the US, we're so caught up in consumerism and consuming goods that it's become a bad thing. And a lot of people are in debt. A lot of people are hurting right now, because of that. So, because they're just buying too much stuff. And it's not 100% people's fault, I don't believe. There's a lot of advertisements. We're bombarded on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, on, driving down the road, at the gas station. They got these little screens now at the gas station that like, sell you commercials and stuff now. And it's just like, God, man, why not? When will I not see a commercial? So, um, yeah, that's, that's about all I got to say about that. And I think, if you're looking at the Polestar 2, it's a good car. Like I said, it's still my favorite car. I still love it, and I don't regret buying it at all. These are just this list is just a lot of it's nitpicking, and a lot of it can be improved through a software update. Whether or not they're going to do that, I don't know. I've gotten several software updates since I bought the car in March. They're all over the air, just like Tesla, and it's worked like clockwork. So, yeah, I think if you're considering the Polestar 2, it's a good option as long as you don't need a lot of space in the cabin. If you're carting around four adults on the regular, or if you're trying to use it for Uber, skip the Polestar 2. It does not. The rear seating is not good for anyone over 5'9". You know, even I'm 5'11", and when I sit back there, my head's touching the back of the roof there, and it's just not somewhere I would want to be on a road trip. So, anyways, I've ranted on long enough. I've gone 27 minutes on 21 things. So I think I'm going to stop the video here, but I hope this video helps anyone that's considering buying a Polestar 2. And my advice is just test drive the cars that you are looking at and see what you like yourself. This car fits my lifestyle, because I'm usually driving by myself, so I don't really need the space. But for the few times that I do, I wish I had more space. So that's it for now. You guys stay safe out there and take care.